Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You are watching the MKUltra show. I, of course, am your host, Carter M. Nelson. Big show today. Great show today. I'm very excited to be back with you on this Monday, July 13th. Big day. So, as we were all expecting, Candace Owens did her show earlier today, and for the first time in a very long time, I actually watched a full, complete show from Miss Candace Owens because I just could not wait to see what she would say after everything came out about the Tyler Robinson preliminary case that we covered last Friday. And everything that we are hearing from the journalists that were actually able to attend and see all of the evidence that was presented, a great deal of stuff that we weren't actually allowed to be shown yet. Everything was saying we have overwhelming evidence. And it's hilarious. This is actually how Candace Owen starts her show. She's talking about, oh, check X and all over. I just see everybody talking about this overwhelming evidence, and I just could not wait to see it. And I saw it, and there just wasn't anything. And it's like, well, Candace, here's the thing: you didn't get to see the same evidence they saw. And we have reporters such as Benny Johnson, who again were personally invited to be there by Erica Kirk, who are the biggest story that came out of it, where they were reporting that they were given the opportunity to see a video which was completely enhanced that made it very clear that Tyler Robinson was the one that took the shot. They are reporting that you could literally tell it was Tyler Robinson's face. You could see him on the rooftop and you could see him run away afterwards, just like the timeline we were given established. So, if that's not overwhelming evidence, I don't know what is. And yet, Miss Candace Owens still goes on and she's trying to just find a needle in a haystack right now. She's trying to find anything that shows, well, obviously this isn't the guy, and you can really tell she's reaching. And, I feel bad dissing on her. I really do, because, I mean, who am I to talk? I always did love him crazy. Honestly, I always loved him crazy. I mean, how much better does it get than Candace Owens? I mean, there's something about her. She's got an aura about her. She's incredible at making her borderline craziness sound believable. And you listen to the show, and she says what she says, and it sounds almost reasonable. It genuinely does. You listen to her, and it's like, man, maybe she has a point. And then you think about it just for a couple seconds and decide I'm not going to just take her word for it. And you go, man, man, there really isn't anything here. And it seems that she doesn't understand that the entire reason that we're not given all the evidence is because they need an unbiased jury still. If we have overwhelming evidence that Tyler Robinson did it, we can't share that completely in its entirety to the public because then anybody you pick for the jury is already going to have the preconceived idea, the preconceived motion that, well, Tyler Robinson did it, and they already know how they are going to vote essentially at the end of the official trial whenever it comes about. They already decide beforehand that Tyler Robinson needs to be convicted, and that is what is called bias. So you really just cannot leak evidence that completely, without a shadow of a doubt, proves the situation until the trial. And once the trial happens, we will see, wow, it was Tyler Robinson. And who knows? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe these reporters are lying. Maybe they are just lying through their teeth, like Candace Owens is saying they are. Maybe that's the case. And if that's the case, then Candace Owens will be vindicated, and I will take back anything I've said about her. But I would be shocked. Because here's the thing, these reporters don't have a reason to lie. Their credibility rests on what they are saying. If these reporters were to go out and just completely fabricate what they saw, well, who will ever trust them again? It's not in their best interest in any way. I don't care how much you pay them. a career, a dedicated career in journalism, happens to be worth a lot more than a random sum of money. Likely. Who knows? Maybe they paid these people $1 billion a piece to lie through their teeth, but I just severely doubt it. And we will find out very quickly what has actually gone down because again, I expect we will be vindicated. I fully expect what the reporters are saying is at least mostly true, and it will show that Tyler Robinson did it. And when I say she's reaching, I mean that this woman is reaching. Some of what she brought up, well, a major part of what she brought up that she's saying is just crucial, is that the DNA sampling doesn't completely show that Tyler Robinson did it. They did DNA sampling of the gun, and what was discovered was a major contributor to the sample was Tyler Robinson. And she's going on her show and she's saying, yeah, so everybody reporting that it was a major contribution and using that to conclude Tyler Robinson did it is misreporting what a major contribution means. And all that means is that the majority of the area on which the sample was taken from has the DNA of that said person. It doesn't mean that it's the only DNA. Because it turns out that this rifle also has DNA from, I believe what we have is Lance Twiggs, along with Tyler Robinson's father. That's, I believe, what we have confirmed so far. Excuse me if I'm misspeaking here, but this is coming from the Candace Owens show herself. So who knows? Who knows? I'd like to imagine that this isn't just completely made up. But here's the deal. And here's the deal, right? If that was the only evidence we had of Tyler Robinson doing it, then obviously this isn't overwhelming evidence, right? The only evidence we have of Tyler Robinson taking the shot is that he was one of the people that touched his gun. Well, then we probably don't have a legitimate case here. However, it's really important to know that that is just evidence to add on to the already reported pile of evidence we have. The video footage we have of him doing it, the multiple confessions we have, the written confession, the texted confession, the telling of the parents, all things that we are currently being told are accurate. We have multiple different confessions. We have video evidence, so his prints being on the gun don't serve to convict the man, but they add on to a pile of evidence that we have. It is not crucial that he's the only one that has touched the gun. Why is that not crucial? Well, we have more evidence. That just adds on to it. And this seems to be something that she isn't comprehending. And I don't even think it's that she's not comprehending it. I think it's purely that she's afraid to be wrong here. She's terrified of being wrong here. And I must admit, I understand why she has placed everything on Charlie Kirk's killing was Israel. Israel did it. And look, you guys know me. I am in no way an apologist for Israel. I despise the nation. In fact, I've been anti-Israel since Candace Owens was still gunning for them. I've been anti-Israel and making content on YouTube about my anti-Israel positions since before Candace Owens left the Daily Wire. That's how long I've been a part of this. And she wants to jump on and just say anything that happens is Israel. Guess what? You destroy my credibility. You destroy Nick Fuentes' credibility. You destroy the credibility of the people who have been part of this for a very great deal of time. Because when you start throwing out that everything is Israel, well, then you take away from the entire idea of what we're trying to preach. We're trying to tell you that Israel is a major threat to the sovereignty of the United States, but that doesn't mean they do everything, because when you start to claim that they do things that we don't have any evidence to back, that takes away from the things that we have evidence to back. It takes away from 9/11. It takes away from the USS Liberty. It takes away from the Kennedy assassination. You cannot in any way start promoting conspiracy theories that don't have any evidence, because when you start doing this, again, it takes away from what we are trying to tell the public. Because guess what? Your average person isn't familiar with all of this. They're not familiar with the nuances in each situation. So when they see one conspiracy that's completely ill-backed, they start to mesh it with the ones that have a legitimate backing. And when that happens, they are less likely to look into everything else going on. And it's also important to note the consequences of blaming Israel for a situation that was a result of left wing radicalism. When you blame Israel for an event like this, it truly takes away from the legitimate danger that left wing radicalism is posing. I mean, Charlie Kirk isn't the only example. We have seen a massive increase in shootings done in the name of left wing radicalism. Shootings done by transgenders. This isn't an uncommon, isolated thing, which is part of what makes it so much more reasonable that a guy like Tyler Robinson would do it. I mean, think about it. Think about how much we've seen. Luigi Mangione. It happened. It really did happen. We know that left wing radicalism is a growing threat to our sovereignty in the same way that Israel is. And we have to make distinctions here because we're not fighting one battle. All of our issues aren't Israel. Some of our issues are Israel, certainly. And I'd be the first to say it. You know I would at this point. I'd like to imagine those watching understand that I would never come out and say what I'm saying to defend Israel, but instead to point out that we have multiple battles. There are multiple things that we need to be focused on. And if we don't do that, we put ourselves at greater risk. I think political violence is a serious issue. I don't think people should be getting shot for saying anything. Really. Like, I don't think that Hassan Piker should go out, and if he's just doing a debate, the right response is shooting him, and the right wing vastly agrees. However, on the left wing, we are seeing a disparity where it's okay to punch a Nazi, right? That was a major talking point. It's okay to kill somebody if they say things you don't like because their words are violence. That's what they've been convinced of. That's what they are in predisposition of. An idea that words are violent. So legitimate acts of violence in response are a fair retaliation to that. But that's not good. That is not something that we want. Not something that we want to see happening. And so when we have a situation like Charlie Kirk, we have to take advantage of the fact that we have a legitimate talking point here. We have something that we can actually accurately point to and say, hey, the radicalism and the speech being promoted on the extremities of the left wing are nurturing violent nature. But no, we destroyed that because we have people like Candace who go on and say, well, it was clearly Israel. And do you want to know where that all came from? The left wing. It was left wing media who originally reported this is bigger than you think. This is an Israel op. No, it's not. They did that to take away from the talking point that we have. They did that to hide the fact that they've been promoting left wing violence for years, and all of a sudden, left wing extremists are becoming violent. It's a genuine expectation that that would happen. That's not something that should be surprising. But they didn't want to have to face any blame or criticism for it, so they started saying that it was Israel. Well, let's break it down. Does Israel killing Charlie Kirk make any sense at all? No, it doesn't. Not in the slightest. Charlie Kirk was, until the day he died, top goy. Why would Israel kill Top Goy? And I'm sorry, right? I'm sorry. Look, the Charlie Kirk assassination was one of the biggest tragedies that we have seen in many of our lifetimes. I know in my lifetime it was probably the biggest political tragedy. It was major. And it still hurts me. And every once in a while I watch back that video and it pains me. But that doesn't take away from who Charlie Kirk was. Sure, he's been created as a martyr now. and he represents something that he did not represent when he's living. And it's important that we do not mix what Charlie Kirk represents today with what Charlie Kirk represented the day before he died. It's a different person that we are being told and that we are talking about. And I don't think that's necessarily a terrible thing, but we can't mix up the two. We can't confuse the two. Because when you start to confuse the two, maybe just maybe you have, well, maybe this is why Israel would do it. But before Charlie Kirk died, before the shot was taken, he truly was top goy. All right? And it's important you remember that because that's really what tells us it wasn't Israel. What did they have to gain out of it? I mean, let's look at what happened. After Charlie Kirk's death, the right went into more extremities. They went to people like Nick Fuentes. They went to people who are legitimately critical of Israel. And that's not a crazy response. That's something that I could have told you would happen the moment that trigger was pulled. It's something that I predicted and talked about. What was it, a day after when I did my video about the situation? It was clear that this was the route the right wing was going to take. We went to populism. That's not crazy. That was expected. So why would Israel have that done? It just doesn't make sense. And when you say they did it, again, it takes away from the very legitimate criticisms we have of the state. And that's why Candace Owens just needs to stop. And again, I feel bad saying this. I love them crazy. I really do. Oh, Candace, 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 Candace. You could have been so great. You could have been the right wing populist's crazy foid, who we all could admire, but no, no. You went the wrong route. And you went this wrong route maybe because you married into British royalty after 2 weeks of knowing the guy without going on a single date and never having any clear romantic intentions spread between the two of you. Maybe that was part of the reason that you went the way you did. But yeah, yeah. I mean, you just can't take this woman seriously anymore. She's destroyed her credibility, and the tragic part is she destroyed credibility of people around her. And I was so curious, could not wait to see how she was going to respond. All weekend, I was like, man, I just know Monday's show's going to be a good one. And man, was I right. Man, was I right. You just never know what you're really going to get from her. Maybe that's part of the fun. Maybe the true Candace Owens show was never about being right, but the absolute insanity that we had along the way. Maybe that was always the beauty of it, right? Maybe that was the beauty of it. So, yeah, yeah, you have to appreciate what you get from that woman because she's gonna say some crazy crap, and it's going to be entertaining at the least. Say what you want about her, but she is certainly entertaining. And I can see why people perceive her the way they do. I can see why people flock to her, but yeah. And one of the funniest parts about the show, she's going on about this rant all the way through, and then halfway through, she has to go to her ad reading, and her ad reading is her talking about how great her trip to Russia was. It's like, I'm sorry, we're America first here. I'm not like a super anti-Russia person, but I'm not pro-Russia. In any way am I pro-Russia. You want to know why I'm not? Because I am America first. I want good things for European nations, but I am America first. So it's hilarious that this woman trying to cling on to our movement is cutting out of her show a moment to talk about how amazing her trip to Russia was. It's like, all right, Candace, we get it. We get the game. We can all see it. We understand your seemingly Russia before American. And I believe her like pin post is about her Russian trip and how beautiful it was. That's a weird thing you're starting to see about a lot of these heavily leaning conspiracy people on the right-wing populist track. They're all of them. They're all obsessed with Russia. It's like, man, that's kind of weird. That's kind of weird. We're America first. Don't forget who we're fighting for. It's not Russia. We're not fighting for Russian sovereignty against Israel. It's America first. That's why the movement is called America First. Like, you don't get to jump on years after all the work has already been done and the popularity is already rising and then destroy the movement. It's not fair. You can't do that, talker. Candace, I'm talking to you. I'm speaking directly to you. You don't get to do that. Candace Owens is delusional. She clings on to whatever the current Republican trend is. Yeah, I know. That's it. That it's crazy. It's crazy. Her whole thing is trends. Again, this is what I was talking about earlier. I was in this movement when Candace Owens was still working for Daily Wire. I was putting my neck on the line making videos about controversial subjects such as Israel and America's sovereignty in relation to Israel when Candace Owens was still working for Ben Shapiro at the Daily Wire. But when the trend started leaving the Daily Wire and it started to be, let's talk about Israel, what does Candace do? She flips to that. Back when the trend, remember, do you guys remember a few years ago, the trend was Russia. The whole trend was, wow, look at this Christian nation. And this is in response to their invasion of Ukraine when the Democrats went all in on defending Ukrainian sovereignty against Russia. And the right wing talking point was Russia's this beautiful Christian nation. And again, I don't hate Russia, but Candace Owens jumped on that. Tucker Carlson jumped on that. So you can't trust these people, not because what they say is always wrong, but because they always are trend jumping. They are jumping towards what is popular, what gets views, and what is okay to say. They didn't talk about Israel when you weren't allowed to talk about Israel on the internet. They never did. They never touched it because they were afraid of losing their platform. They jump trend to trend. It's the same thing we're seeing with Sneeko. Sneeko wasn't even a trendoid. You distract. That was such a great point. You distracted me. Yeah, it's these foids, these trendoids. But but you see the same thing with Sneeko, right? This guy, he was not even political. Politicism starts to trend. It starts to become a social media talking point. He jumps onto it. Anti-Israeli talk starts to be a talking point. He jumps onto it. Islam became trending thanks to Andrew Tate. He jumps onto that. Everything he represents is a trend. Everything he talks about is a trend. That's why he jumped so quickly, point to point. He was far right when that was trending, and now he's a Mamdani supporter because that's what's trending. You can't trust 99% of these people online because they jump trend to trend. You want to decide if somebody's worth listening to? Don't look at their catalog of the last month. Look at their catalog 2 years ago and see if they were still promoting the same things that they are today. How have they changed? And if is their change just maturing or is their change because of a trend? And that's important. That's an important thing to recognize. I mean, look at my catalog years ago. Same points, same talking points. I'll even give you guys my old channel so you can review to see if I changed when I jumped. It's called MKUltra Crusader. Never gonna post on it, so this isn't a promotion for myself. This is clearly so you can dissect my work and see if I'm actually someone worth listening to because I care about consistency. Unlike these people, I don't hide my past because I think my past should be open so you can know whether I'm someone worth listening to. You can do the same thing with like Nick. Well, look at all his old shows. Go to Band.video. See what he was talking about. It's the same thing. It's consistency. From what was he? Age 18 to what is he now? Like 26, 27 years old? It's consistent throughout. Look at me. I've been consistent since I was 15 years old making content on here. These individuals that are trying to take over the populist right and trying to lead it, well, they're leading it in the wrong direction because they weren't consistent. They didn't have an understanding of what was needed to be said years ago. They are trend hopping. And that is something that I don't want to see. It's not good for the right. It's not good for the movement. No, not at all. Not in the slightest. These people don't have a legitimate understanding of the talking points. These people don't have a legitimate view of how we got to where we are today because they weren't part of it when we were working to get to where we are today. And that is important. That is important. It's important to have that understanding. That's why it is important to let somebody be in media for years, working their ass off before they are given a major role in anything. because they don't yet have the understanding of how we got there, the work we did to be able to talk about the things we do. It takes years to build credibility. And guess what? You built your credibility by, being on the internet for years. But the issue is you don't have any understanding of where we are today because you weren't fighting for us to be where we are today. In fact, you were on the opposition. Tucker Carlson was on Fox News. Tucker Carlson tried to get into the CIA, got rejected, instead goes into media, goes on to Fox News for years, and when it becomes more popular to be independent, he goes the independent route. When it becomes popular to talk about Israel, he starts talking about Israel. And on the note that he went to media instead of joining the CIA, I think it's incredibly, incredibly important that we recognize the fact that the CIA has media dedicated branches to it. How do we know you're not a Fed, Tucker? How do we know that you're not in the position you are in because of your CIA daddy that you won't let anybody talk about because, oh, I hurt so badly. My daddy died. Well, boo hoo. It's important to understand where you came from because how can we trust you when you deny where you came from? Candace Owens worked for the Daily Wire for years, getting that role as a DEI hire after being a failed actress. She's an actor. And it's important to recognize that she married into British royalty after barely knowing the guy. Met him, what, once? Never once spoke of romantic intentions, and then he proposes and she agrees. That's an arranged marriage. Say what you want about it, that is an arranged marriage. And I'm not opposed to getting married quickly. You want to get married after 6 months, a year? Go for it. That's probably good. People should be getting married younger. We have significant population issues, and we need that to rise, and the best way for it to rise is earlier marriages. And on a side note, interesting, right now, something big trending, teens are now having less kids than women over 40, and it's like, yikes, no wonder autism rates are rising. I mean, kids do not turn out as well when they're born to parents who were elder. I mean, typically, they are more prone to genetic disorder. So no wonder things are going the way they are. But yeah, so Candace Owens, she's lost the plot. And the plot never seemed to be with her. She says whatever the major talking point is. She works for whoever is going to get her the furthest. She does whatever needs to be done to always be in the spotlight. Everything has to be about Candace. And that's the issue that you should be recognizing with her. Now, in other news, outside of the delusional nature of Mrs. Candace Owens, again, man, do I love her crazy. It hurts to talk about her like this. Ah, the crazy ones. Always were the funnest. Always are the best. But, in other news, Sebastian Guerrero, a Colombian who was residing in Maine, I believe on a worker's visa, was shot earlier today by ICE. Shot and killed. And is what we're seeing in response to this shocking at all? Of course not. Of course it's not shocking. People are already protesting. I mean, they are going to the door of Susan Collins' office, a senator, the Republican senator in Maine. They are going there. Why? Why? Because they need to protest the enforcement of law. How did we get to the point where we live in a nation where enforcing law is something worth protesting? I mean, come on, we have bigger fish to fry than ICE taking out a non-American who was, I don't know, driving a weapon. This is something that the liberals don't seem to be able to comprehend. These anti-ICE people with everything they say. We look back at what happened to Renee Good. Not so sparkly anymore, is she? We look back at what happened to her, and what are they talking about? They are saying, "Oh, she was just trying to drive away." The same narrative is being spoken about now with Sebastian Guerrero, just trying to drive away. They can't comprehend that a car is a deadly weapon. Guess what? You run over somebody with your car, they die. They fucking die. You can easily kill somebody with a car. So when somebody decides, hey, I'm getting stopped by ICE, the best course of action is to run them over. What do? What's the reasonable response? I don't know, maybe shoot the person. That's probably the good decision. Shoot the person, right? I mean, I don't get how all these media platforms, they always take the side of the illegal, of the immigrant, of the person that is threatening, who is actively threatening ICE workers, ICE enforcement officers. I mean, who do we care about more? The people trying to kill cops or the cops? I feel like the answer should be pretty evident, but yet you have mass protesting. When I saw this hilarious video come out of this, a news organization is interviewing a woman, and she's talking about how evil it is, and then she starts talking about, oh man, a second generation immigrant, and not all of my family can be here because they were killed in the Holocaust. Everything comes back to the Holocaust. It's like no way. No way. Everything comes back to the Holocaust. Well, well, well. But the unfortunate thing about these shootings, and another one happened in Texas, I believe just yesterday. And the unfortunate thing about these is they don't work out well for us. It's like we need enforcement. We need these people gone. But every time one of them decides to attack ICE and they end up getting themselves killed because this isn't ICE killing them. This is them getting themselves killed. Every time this happens, you see people shift further to anti-ICE, anti-immigration enforcement. And that's scary. That's not good. That's bad for the movement. It makes it harder for them to do their jobs. Because not only does it encourage more people to attempt to kill ICE enforcement officers, but simultaneously it makes the people less willing to allow through their voting for immigration to continue, which makes Republicans less likely to actually go through with it. It's a really, really dangerous situation and a dangerous game we're playing where it's, well, we can't let our officers get killed on the scene when these people are using deadly force. It's like, well, maybe deadly force is the right option. But simultaneously, it has to be avoided at all costs, or the people just go further. They go further to the left. It's not a good look for us. It's really not a good look. And we see the consequences of it immediately. All of Maine is already protesting. They are going to the door of their Republican senator. That is the reality of the situation because people are prone to take the side of somebody who isn't with us anymore. That's the way that the cookie crumbles. The way the curtain folds. It always goes the way of whoever died. It doesn't matter what the circumstances surrounding it were. It purely comes down to, well, that person is dead. I'm sure they were innocent. Well, they weren't innocent. And that's why they're not with us anymore. And we need to find a way to take control of the media narratives here to say, hey, when somebody attacks officers and gets killed, that's probably good for our nation. These aren't people worth feeling bad for because they are a direct threat to our sovereignty as a people. We have a right to remove invaders. And when those invaders attempt to harm us, we have a right to defend ourselves. So the media, we need to get the media under control. We need to change the media narratives of these, and that's the only way that we can ever get legitimate support for mass deportations. And if we want mass deportations to happen because of the way that the publicly perceives the inevitable consequences of mass deportations, we kind of have to just accept, hey, we're going to get 4 years, we're going to deport 1 million of them, and then we're going to lose. And 1 million's not even enough. I mean, more than 1 million came over during the Biden presidency. 1 million's not even enough. So we need strong enforcement, and we kind of just have to commit to it and say, look, It's going to be not very popular while we do it, but it will be better for our nation 20 years from now. We have to be more strategic about this and more understanding of the legitimate consequences that come with deporting a massive number of people. Because guess what? Some of them are going to resort to violence. And that's why it's important that we also take the side of our DHS officers to say this aggression towards these officers will not be acceptable. Like I'm honestly not too worried about the circumstance. We'll see. We'll see. We'll eventually get a legitimate investigation. The FBI is already investigating the shooting, and we'll see what comes out of that. But at the moment, I am inclined to take the side of the officer. But the unfortunate thing is, the American public, the people who see what happened, tend to take the side of the person who got shot because they aren't recognizing how dangerous a vehicle can be. So, yeah, yeah. It's a incredibly fragile situation. We are walking on glass. And when that glass breaks, we have to be willing to walk through the shards of it. Because otherwise, we're never going to get what we're trying to go for. It's just not going to be possible. Like, I get he was a father, and yeah, it's sad that kid doesn't have his dad anymore, but his dad probably shouldn't have tried to kill somebody. People who try to kill don't deserve a place in our nation. It's that simple. Like, you don't get to try to kill officers. It's just not a option. I don't care if you think that they have no right to speak to me. Well, they do. All right. And if we want this mass deportation to happen, we have to let officers speak to people who maybe are innocent. And when those people try to kill those officers, we have to be okay with some of them probably aren't going home tomorrow. And that's just the reality of the situation. That's the gravity of it. Aye, aye, aye. So that's all you can say about these situations. Aye, aye, aye. It's a terrible look, and we are going to lose the midterms very likely to a blue wave because the media is on the side of the Democrats and the anti-deportation crowd. So they control every narrative to show, wow, look how evil and despicable these deportation officers are. But I'm going to support them time and time again. I am going to continue my support for the actions these brave men are doing because they are putting their lives on the line to protect us. And the media coverage is saying, man, Americans don't deserve to live like this. Unsure if ICE is going to come knocking on their door and just shoot them. But you know what I think Americans don't deserve to live in? They don't deserve to live in a country where illegal nationals are killing them in the streets. I don't think Americans deserve to live in a world and a country where the prices of everything are getting driven up by sanctuary cities. I mean, this is something we've seen in New York. New York declares itself as a sanctuary city. They have Mondani run on bringing down prices and price control, and yet they have the highest rent price, some of the highest rent prices in the country, the highest they've ever seen because they declared themselves as a sanctuary city. So they have so many people there and not enough housing. And what happens? Well, it's a simple game of supply and demand. There's not enough supply and too much demand because of illegals. And so that's something we have to take control of. We need to end the sanctuary cities. There are a great deal of things that we need to take control of, and we are dependent on ICE for doing that. And for that reason, my support to them will continue. Like, I I just can't make myself be that worried about, man, some people are going to die because of this. Well, the only people who are going to die because of this are the people who are willing to inflict death onto others. Yeah, yeah. So that's where we are. That's where we are. That does wrap up the majority of the major news today. Another moderately slow day. I mean, it's an unfortunate day where we have to do an entire show wrapped around the show of somebody else, but that's just how I don't know, it's been a slow week. This ice shooting will likely ramp up over the next couple days. That'll become a more major story. That's why I'm here to cover it first for you guys, and that's what you can count on from me. But thank you for watching. If you made it this far, please like, subscribe. I greatly appreciate it. It helps the movement, helps more people see this content. Hopefully, we can start to change the narratives that are circling our nation. And by changing the narratives, we change the public opinion, and the public opinion shapes the future of America. So God bless you. God bless this nation. America first forever. And so long. Peace out. And God bless all of you.